Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to talk about place value through billions. In order to do that, we're going to go back and review some of the ones that we should already know. For example, the 6 that we see here is in the ones place. The 7, of course, is in the tens place. And the 5 is in the hundreds place. Together, these 3 digits make up something we call the ones period. Now you will notice to the right of the ones period we have a decimal point. Okay, whenever you see a decimal point, we would say the word and. We will get to that in future lessons. Okay, after the ones period, of course, we have what's called the thousands period. Okay. The 3 that we see would, of course, be 3 thousands. The 4 is 4 10,000s. And the 5 that we see there would be 500,000s. After the 100,000s, of course, we have what would be known as the millions period. The 9 would, of course, be 9 millions. The 2 would be 2 10 millions. And the 1, of course, would be 100 millions. It's in the 100 millions place. It would say 100 million. Okay. After the millions, we have the new one today that we are calling the billions period. And of course, that would make the 5 billions. After the billions would be the 10 billions. And after the 10 billions, we would, of course, have the 100 billions. Now, when we are reading these numbers, okay, we read them by saying the number and then saying the period it's from. So this first number, we would say 385 billion, 129 million, 543,000, 576. Okay, the only period we don't say the name of the period at the end is the ones period. So let me read that one more time. 385 billion, 129 million, 543,000, 576. Okay, here I have another number written down. What sometimes helps is to divide it in the periods before I even start reading the number. So for example, I know this would be the ones period. This would be the thousands period. This would be the millions period. And this would be the billions period. So if I was reading this number, I would say 274 billion, 385 million, 129,342. Here's another number we have written. I'm going to apply the same strategy. So this would be the ones, the thousands, the millions, and of course the billions. And when I start reading this, I would say 67 billion, 300 million, 8,090. Once again, 67 billion, 300 million, 8,090. One of the things that you're going to be asked to do today is write the number in standard form. So we write it just like it says. So when it says 10 billion, we're going to start out writing a 10 in the billions place. So we put a 10 and then, of course, our comma. The next part says 8 million. Well, how would I make it say 8? Well, I cannot just write an 8. There has to be 3 numbers in the millions period. To make it say 8, I would have to write 0, 0, 8. We then get to the thousands period, and it says 67,000. Again, I cannot just write a 67. There has to be 3 numbers in that period. So to make it say 67 and take 3 places, it would be 0, 6, 7. And finally, the last one says 1. Again, I cannot just write down the number 1. There has to be 3 numbers in the ones period. So I would have to write 0, 0, 1. That makes this number 10,067,001. Here's another one. 284,119,083,222. So we're going to start with the billions. It says 284 billion. Well, writing 284 in the billions place isn't that difficult. 284 with a comma. The next part says 119 million. If it just said write 119, we all know it would be 119. So in the millions, we just write 119 in the millions period. The next one says 83,000. Well, again, in order to make it say 83 in the thousands period, there has to be 3 digits. So we have to write 0, 8, 3. And finally, the last part says 222 is just 2, 2, 2. That makes this number 284,119,083,222. One of the things that you're going to be asked to do is solve problems like this today. How many 100s are in 10,000? Well, that seems like a really daunting task. But if you think about what we did with exponents the other day, we can make this a little bit easier. When it says how many hundreds, well, we know 100 is 10 to the second power. And 10,000 is equal to 10 to the fourth power. Now, what is the difference? Well, if you notice, the difference is 2, okay, when we look at the exponent. So this has a 4 for the exponent, and this has a 2 for an exponent. Well, what number has, that's a power of 10, has a 2? Well, that would be 10 to the second, which would, of course, be 100. So if we think about this, what we just learned is that there are, how many 100s in 10,000? There would be 100 100s in 10,000. If you look at the next one, how many 10,000s in a million? Well, how many thousands in a million? Thousands is the same as 10 to the third. A million is the same as 10 to the sixth. So the difference between the exponents, one of them is a 6 and one of them is a 3, is a difference of 3. So that means our answer to this problem has to be a 1 with 3 zeros. So what we just learned is how many thousands are in a million. There would be 1,000 thousands in a million. So how many 100s are in a million? Well, if we look at 100, that's the same as 10 to the second. And a million, of course, is 10 to the sixth. The difference in the exponents is 4, which means our answer would be a 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So how many 100s are in a million? That would be 10,000. So let's put that in perspective. If I had $1 million, okay? If I had $1 million and I wanted to give 100 people an equal share, I could give 10,000 people $100. Isn't that crazy to think of it like that? But that's what we're talking about here, okay? So practice doing this. It's not too hard. Look at the difference of the exponents. Another way to look at it is to do it the following way. If you notice, one strategy for solving this was to compare the exponents. Another way, okay, that we can do this if we want to know how many 100s are in 10,000, it's really the same as dividing 100 into 10,000. Okay, so one of the things that we can do that's a little trick is we can eliminate the same number of zeros from each side and the answer will jump out at you. So now when we look at it, Okay, how many 100s are in 10,000? There were 100. How many thousands are in a million? Well, again, if we eliminate the same number of zeros from each side, the answer will jump out at you, 1,000. How many thousands are in a million? There are 1,000 thousands in a million. Another way, when we look at how many 100s are in a million, well, again, we can eliminate the same number of zeros from each side. And you will notice that there are 5 zeros in that answer, which means our answer would be 1 with 4 zeros left, not 5. That means our answer would be 10,000. Okay, just like we got earlier when we were doing it using exponents. One of the other things we're going to ask you to do today is to be able to look at a number and answer some basic questions. Okay, for example, the first one says, what place is the 3 in? Well, if we remember, this is the ones period, the thousands period, the millions period, and the billions period, then this becomes a little bit easier. So when we're talking about the 3, which is this number right here, we know that if we read this, we'd say 359 billion. So that would be in the 100 billions place. Okay, in the next one, it says, what place is the 7 in? Well, we can see that the 7 is in the millions period, and it's the first number in that millions period. So we know that that would be 7 millions. It would be in the millions place. What place is the 8 in? Well, we can see the 8 is right here. Okay, the 8 is in the thousands period. It is the largest number in the thousands period. If we were just reading that number, we'd say 826. So we know that that would be 800, and in this case, thousands. The skills that you saw me do in this quick lesson is what you will be doing on your math today. Have fun with it, and good luck.